There we go. Sorry, I had my mic muted. Yeah, welcome everybody. Are the audio levels okay in terms of our voice and the music? Let me know. But welcome. This is our first initial sobriety talk with a guest. I know I've been talking about my sobriety over the course of the last 2 weeks, and the feedback has been great. But now that I am in affiliate status, I wanted to bring on guests and have them talk about their sobriety and just share their journeys, because everyone's is different. And the more we talk about it and the more people can relate to, the more that helps. If you like what I'm doing in the channel, if you want to subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. 10% of everything that I make on the channel is going to Foundry BC, which is a mental health and wellness charity that supports youth programs between ages 12 and 24. But regardless, we're doing this because it's important to us. So Kristina, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. And for everybody, this is our initial stream, so as we work out the kinks of it, just be patient. But please give us feedback in the chat if there is any issues at all. But that being said, let's get started. So, Kristina, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Kristina. I live in Calgary, Alberta. I'm 28 years old, and I am currently getting my master's in counseling psych, and I plan to be a psychologist after I finish that. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. And so I guess we can just dive right into it. What was your first experience with alcohol? So like way back when, I know I mentioned that my first experience was, I think, in grade 8 or grade 9. What was your first experience?
Well, mine was about the same age. I was 13 years old when I first experimented with alcohol. Alcohol was always pretty prevalent in my house growing up. My dad was very loved to have a bottle of wine with dinner, so I was always kind of around it. And then the first time I actually drank, like without them around or anything, I was 13 years old. And the first time I drank was the first time I got drunk. And it kind of just, snowballed from there, but 13 years old.
Wow. Do you remember what you had?
Back then we used to, go into our parents' liquor cabinet and just put everything you could into a water bottle. Big stuff, poison, yeah.
I remember those days. Yeah, one of my good friends, Luke, when his parents had a party, we literally just took as much as we could from the liquor cabinets and we just mix it. And that's the weirdest thing about alcohol. Like, it doesn't taste good. Like it's awful feeling, but you just drink it because you know something funny is gonna happen. Like you have, but it's this weird thing of like, in any other situation, if something tasted terrible and made you feel awful, why would you have it? But with alcohol, it's just like something that we're all grown into. Like, oh, just do it anyways. Like, it's totally fine.
Totally, and it's so socially acceptable. And once you hit that age, especially if you have older siblings too, you kind of just it's just the right message, right? You're like, okay, it's time to start drinking. We're all getting into that phase of our lives, so that's what we did.
And did you feel pressure to drink? Like, was that immediate?
I remember that night, the first night that I had ever got drunk. I was really nervous to drink it just because of the burning sensation. Like, I was quite scared of that. And so I remember diluting it with water a little bit just so it would go down a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But I never drank alcohol, so I got intoxicated pretty quickly, and that's when the drunken debauchery started.
Yeah. What were your habits with drinking after your first experience with alcohol? Like, did you? For me, it was, I never really thought much about what I was doing. It was just because we were young and like drinking was sort of the new thing, and we would go and drink in parks. Like, I remember in high school in grade 10, we would go in the back. There was a preschool right next to Western Canada High School, and there was a big forest, sort of like a bushed area, and we'd go back there, and there was like just a dirt patch where everyone hung out and partied, and that's where we would drink.
Oh
But
yeah.
did you notice that what were your sort of habits growing up and growing into drinking alcohol?
We would also do the parks, not that park. I know exactly what park you're
Yeah,
talking
in
about. But
Calgary.
yeah, we would go to Christchurch Park. It was, you know what that is.
Yep.
It's Elbow. Yeah, we would always go there and bring whatever we could. I remember one time it was all I could get was Kahlua, and I had chocolate milk. So I drank Kahlua and chocolate milk. Like that
Well,
is not a delicious thing, but I wasn't drinking it for the taste. And I think that was a common theme for me, was that I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy the taste of it. It wasn't like a pleasurable experience to have a glass of wine. I drank with a purpose,
yeah,
right? And that was drunk,
yeah. That's
right?
exactly
Yeah.
how I felt too. It was actually funny. I was telling my boss at work today about sort of what we're doing in the interview today, and he was like, do you think you'll ever go back to just enjoying a glass of beer or having an occasional one or whatever? And he's like, are you that, or are you completely sober? And I was like, honestly, for me, like it was never about having one glass of beer to enjoy it. Like I never sat at home and had a one beer and I was like, oh man, this is so good. But like, okay, that's it. For me, it was always like when I was drinking, I didn't care what it was. I was drinking to get absolutely mangled and drink until I was so drunk that I couldn't do anything. And that's how it always was. Like there was never a night when I started drinking and I went home and I was like, oh, what a great night. Like good night and fell asleep. I passed out every single time.
Yeah, I mean, even just from a young age, I would always wake up and I had done something the night before that I regretted. That I just was like, "Ooh, I don't like that." I don't think there was ever a time in my drinking career where I woke up the next morning and was like, "Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
No regrets at all. I felt great." That was never a
Yeah.
thing for me. It was always just like, "Oh my God, I'm
What
never
happened?
drinking again."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And so how did that carry? You said you started drinking at 13. How did that carry into junior high and into high school? Like did you notice a change? Did your circle of friends change? Did you notice any changes that looking back now, kind of in hindsight, that maybe were made because of drinking?
yeah, so grade 8 was the first experience, and then grade 9, I did have a group of friends that we liked to party, and we'd have like beer Olympics and stuff. And me, I was girl because I had an older sister that looked a lot like me. So I was able to
Yep.
get the booze, and that was it was all very sneaky and very exciting. Grade 9, turning 15, like it was just an exciting new world
Hmm.
that we were entering, right? And then, well, grade 10 was very different for me. I got a boyfriend
Okay.
who was older than I was. And in a lot of ways, he kind of showed me some new, right? Like
Yep.
some new aspects of that world that I also found very exciting. I was attracted to that party lifestyle. Uh, that continued on in grade 10. Grade 10 was a lot of first experiences, right? And it continued from there. And again, every time I would drink at a party or something, the next day it was just like, no,
Hmm.
why
Hmm.
did you do that? No, like so many regrets, right? And that was just so thinking back on it, I would argue that from day one, it was a problem because I
Yeah.
was never able to just moderate it.
Did you notice that?
We're able just to have a couple and be like, okay, I'm home.
Yeah. Did you notice that your habits were different than your friends? Oh.
Not back then. I feel like all of us drinking with a purpose.
Yeah.
Where I did differ was my reaction to alcohol was different. I think in that, a lot of people when they overdrink, they pass out, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what happens. For me, I would never pass out.
Interesting. Just hold on one sec, Kristina. I think your connection. Hold on one second. Can you hear me, Kristina?
Yeah, because I was just always blacking out, right?
Do you want to, so I think your connection is a little bit laggy.
Okay.
Yeah, so I missed that entire part and I really want to hear it. Okay, I think she's gonna try and reconnect. Let's see. Sorry for the delay, guys. Yeah, I know. Is it just me, or is Kristina's and just a little bit laggy? Kristina? Just one sec, guys. I'm just gonna text her. Oh, here we go.
Hi.
Hey.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Again, we're figuring out the technical difficulties as we go. Do you want to repeat what you said last time? What you just said?
Where were we?
We were talking sort of about how did you notice that your habits were different than other people's?
So then I started talking about just that the consumption of alcohol was kind of the same. We all were drinking the same amount, right? But I was always the one who just, when I would drink to excess, I would like black out and then continue to function, like, but without being, and most people would pass out, right? And I wouldn't. I would continue on with the night and then continue to make bad decisions. So I think in that way I was a bit different.
Yeah.
But again, we were all drinking with purpose back then.
100%. Sorry, you're just lagging out a little bit again. Do you want to try turning off your Wi-Fi for a second, seeing if that helps? And just going on data? Yeah, because you're frozen again. Oh, sorry, guys. We'll get there, don't worry. Here, one sec. I'm just gonna text her. Turning off Wi-Fi, using. Yeah, exactly. I know tech stuff happens, so it's okay. We're figuring it out. I actually have corded internet for this reason. It's just because it is quite a burden to add in like streaming and then streaming to this. So yeah, thanks everybody for sticking around. I really appreciate it. I know Kristina's just taking a sec to figure it out, so we will just wait. How is everybody doing? Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask up to this point? If you're curious about anything that Kristina is talking about, let us know in the chat. I'll just take a quick sip. Oh, here she is.
Okay. Hi.
Hey, technical difficulties. It's okay.
So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, normally it does. Like I know I don't want to use up too much data, but maybe for the next time we can work on the connection. But for this time, let's. Yeah, I think it'll be a stronger connection. So, okay, good. So now, and thanks everybody for sticking around. I really appreciate that. Oh, actually, yeah, that's fine. So let's go on to the next question. When did you notice a shift in your drinking behaviors? Like I know you were talking about it always felt like you were sort of drinking and you never passed out. Did you ever notice a big change For me personally, it was sort of, I noticed in high school, it definitely started to elevate. Where I was, I played a lot of sports going into junior high, like basketball and rugby and things like that. And then in high school, I just stopped because I realized I could play sports and have to get up early and all that stuff, or I could go out and party with my friends, and that was way more fun and getting into trouble and doing stupid stuff. And when did you notice like a specific change, or did you notice it until you hit like a rock bottom?
In high school, like definitely we were all drinking to excess, like there's no question about that, but I was still kind of in that phase where I would drink a lot and then wake up the next morning hungover and be like, ugh, I'm never drinking again, and then not for a while.
Yeah.
So it was, it was just like I would get, overly intoxicated, but I wouldn't continue it, right? It wouldn't continue for longer periods. And that kind of stayed the same in high school, but drinking definitely became more of a priority. I would kind of plan my extracurricular activities around hangovers or around, like I was going to be out drinking, like I would make sure I had nothing else to do the next day so that I could be hungover. So in that way, it did change a little bit in high school. I was planning my life essentially around drinking.
I was the same way. Like it was literally, school for us. One sec. I'm updating our chat in Twitch Sobriety chat. There we go. Just so more people can find it. I definitely noticed that too. Like school for me truly was just a way to meet up with everybody. For those of you guys who don't know, me and Kristina's older brother Charles actually were very, very, very close for a long time. We lived together. We went to high school together. We went to band together. And so going to school for me was truly just a way to meet up with everybody. And
yeah, guys were so like, they would dress up like Motley Crue. They would like backcomb their hair, leather pants, all that kind of stuff. You guys were so, just such a statement that everybody knew, right? And so I had that to look up to, kind of just that like, coolness, like that's so cool because you guys were so well known. So yeah, I think that knowing you from a small age too, like it was.
Yeah, what was that? And just like, I guess on a personal level, what was that like? Because I know that like when I was with Charles, you guys were growing up, like I know I saw you guys, like you and Amanda and Joey at the house, but like we never really interacted. It was just kind of like, hey, what's up? Like, was it weird?
Well, at that time, I was like 14, so I'm just Chuck's little sister, right?
Yeah.
But you were so like you were almost scary to me just because you were so much older, you were 4 years older, and for someone who's in grade 8 and you're in grade 12, it's like, whoa, like it's intimidating, right?
Yeah.
So I never really thought that we could interact or that I was like worthy of it.
And that's a fair thing to think. Like I wouldn't, me and my brother are a very close age, and we're very similar in a lot of ways, like personality types, but our life paths have taken us in very different directions, but we have so much in common, like internally, that I think that's what makes us strong. But I couldn't even, I don't know how having like an older brother who would have influence, like I don't know if I had my brother was 4 years older than me, if I would have found myself influenced by seeing what they're doing on a regular basis, and if that would maybe encourage me to drink more, because I was the one who was going out and partying and stuff, and my brother drank and definitely, but I don't ever think it was definitely never a problem for him to the point like it was for me.
Yeah, I thought my older brother was like the coolest, right? Like he was so cool, he was so popular, he just like was always out with his friends. Mm-hmm. So, looking at that growing up, I was like, well, I want to be cool too.
Yeah. And so I guess in hindsight is obviously much easier, but do you think you would have had as much of an issue with drinking if you didn't have older siblings or anyone to like influence you on a regular basis?
I don't think so. I think that while obviously like familial interactions are a huge factor, but I think that more so who I was hanging out with personally was more of an influence.
Okay.
And then as time went on, I think that like my experiences continue to fuel that.
Yeah.
Maybe looking at my siblings at a young age, I thought, oh, it's okay. Like they kind of paved the way,
Yeah.
if you will, because
Totally.
Chucky was a badass. He kind of would just, he paved the way for a man, Joey, because he was so bad, and we could kind of like do the same thing, right? Because Chucky already did it.
Yeah.
So in that way, I think that I was kind of influenced, but in terms of when it became a really, really big problem, I think that was more internal.
100%. And going into, I guess, like being in high school, did you feel the same way as me, where it was like, what high school did you go to again? Did you go to Rundle?
I went to Rundle
Yeah.
for grade 10 and 11. Grade 12, I switched to Western.
Oh, okay, interesting. And did you notice a difference in the culture around drinking when you switched from so just for you guys who don't know, Rundle is a private school in Calgary and Western is a public school. And the Western, I went to Western as well. It is like the downtown public school right in the heart of like the busy area. So lots of opportunities to get into trouble there. But did you notice a shift in your drinking habits or anything between Rundle? Or I've almost kind of thought that like, a lot of my close friends like Steve and Charles and Reed and all those guys came from private schools, and they definitely wanted to get up to more trouble. And I think I definitely, so did I. So I don't know who was more the influential there, but like, did you notice that drinking was more prevalent at Rundle, or did you notice it was more prevalent at Western, or equal?
Oh, Western.
Yeah.
Western.
Okay.
100%. Rundle, I would kind of, it was a much smaller group, right? So the parties would be, 15 to 20 people, and we'd all be like, drinking a bottle of like hard liquor or something, whereas Western, it was like hundreds in the house, and then lots of beer. I've never drank so much beer in my life than I did in grade 12. I got the biggest beer belly ever just because that's all we did. We were just beer. And I think that the drinking culture at Western was a lot more intense, if you will.
Yeah.
It was drink.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point to make, is that like, even talking with my boss today at the hotel, we were talking about, I was from Calgary, and he worked in a hotel in Calgary for a while, and he was like, drinking is just part of the culture of Calgary. So it's not even just like who you hang out with or who your, maybe your bigger brothers and sisters are. It's also like where you live. So if you live, he was like, he grew up in Barbados. And there was a lot of other stuff to do. He was like, I could, at 6 years old, I could go out and get a drink because someone would offer it to me, and it was no problem. But it's so much more regulated in Canada, especially, but there's so much of it in Calgary. And that's just like, once you get to a certain age, that's just what you do, because there's not as many options to do stuff. Like in Vancouver, there's, you can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go to the ocean, you can, there's a lot of different opportunities. And I think in Calgary, there's just not as much stuff to do. So that might have an influence on your habits as well, because that's part of the culture. And I've heard that about Toronto as well, that it's just such a go city. It's either you're doing business or you're partying, and that's sort of like the culture there.
I mean, I agree with that to a degree. I mean, Calgary, Banff is like an hour away. I mean,
That's true.
You can always find something wonderful to do. I think that we didn't really want to.
Yeah.
We just wanted to drink. We just wanted to drink, and we wanted to take pictures. And like, I think social media was a big influence as well.
Really?
You want to put up all these pictures of where you were at the night and get all the tags you can or whatever. And I think the element of FOMO, fear of missing out, came into play a lot, because you don't want to miss out on the party. You don't want to miss out on, knowing that you were there, which is silly to me now.
100%.
It seems silly to me now, because I love just staying at home and missing out on stuff. I don't mind it. But back then, it was much more of a priority.
Yeah. I agree. And it's interesting that you talk about social media, because for me, like even that 4 years.
Did I freeze again?
No, there was a little bit of a lag. You're okay though. Yeah. But for me, like, we didn't have social media when we were in high school. Like I could barely send texts when I was in, I don't even think we could send texts in high school. I remember when I got my first cell phone, and it was like right at, I think it was, yeah, it was weird to have social media. Oh, she dropped. Let's see if we can get her back. We got about 5 minutes left, so. It's funny, it was like ominous. She's like, oh, did I freeze? And then literally it dropped. We'll get her back. The technology abound. We definitely need to work on internet stuff, but that's okay. Let's see if we can get her back.
Tom, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Phew.
Okay.
You prefaced the drop bit yourself. You're like, oh my God, did it spike? And then you literally dropped. But I was just saying, we got like 4 minutes left, so we can wrap it up soon. But I was just saying, like, it's so interesting that social media had no effect on our drinking. Like, we just wanted to drink because, you know, we literally didn't want people to know what we were up to, because we were getting into so much trouble. Like, I couldn't even imagine how much more trouble we would get into if we were posting some of the stupid stuff we used to do. You know, I unfortunately, you know, I used to vandalize things and run around in the like neighborhoods at night and screaming and making noise and just like doing stupid stuff. And I can only imagine how much social media would have accelerated that behavior, for better or for worse. So I definitely feel, I definitely think that has influenced a new generation of drinking to a much bigger extent. Oh no, she froze again. Dang. Okay. Hopefully she can sort it out. Yeah, we can definitely wrap it up here. Hopefully Kristina can come back in so we can say goodbye and leave it off on a final note. But we'll give her a second. But for everybody, I will just say, this was like amazing first talk. Like, I can't believe it's already been half an hour already. Thank you guys so much. And this is one of hopefully 3 or 4 sessions. I know, like, it happens. Like, it's that's why, like, especially with having this stream set up, I needed to make sure that all the internet was good, and we'll have it figured out for Kristina next time. No worries there. Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. So I was gonna say, let's wrap it up here, because I think we're at a good spot in the story of when you're sort of in high school. And then, so did something change when you left high school and went out into the real world? Do you think problems arose then?
Yeah, that's when the real stuff began. So. Okay.
Well, that'll be the start of our conversation next session. But Kristina, thank you so much for coming in. Internet problems abound. We'll figure it out. Like, do not worry about it. But honestly, like, you were the first person to come on and do this interview, and it means so much to me that you're willing to share your story. And just, it was great to talk to you and connect about our pasts, and, like, you know, because they intertwine more than we know. And just the different influences we had on each other's lives. So thank you so much. And thanks for everybody who is watching and supporting. It means the world to me. And I know that Kristina, like, thank you guys so much for all the support and willingness to just support this thing. Like, I know it's not normal, a Twitch thing to do. So much appreciated. Kristina, we will see you next Saturday for another half hour of talking, and we'll dive right back in sort of to the end of high school and beyond, and we'll see how far we get in your story. Yeah, cool. So thanks everybody. That's it for me tonight. And Kristina, be happy, and we will see you guys. We'll see you guys next week. I will be on stream tomorrow on Sunday, but we'll keep our sobriety talks to just next Saturday. So thanks, guys.